If you're in high school and you've ever thought, I want to study better, but I don't know how, you're not alone. I'm a doctor now, but back in year nine, I was just another student trying to figure it all out. In this video, I'm sharing 11 study tips I wish someone had told me when I was your age, and tips that helped me get through exams, med school, and everything in between. Whether you're aiming for top marks or you just want to stop feeling overwhelmed, these strategies will change the way you study. Let's dive in. Number one, don't aim for straight A's, focus on your strengths. Now, this is relevant to the pre-VCE, pre-HSC people. So you haven't chosen your subjects yet. Now, everyone will push you aiming for straight A's because it looks weird to get, A in maths, A in science, but then like a C in history. But that's actually not a bad thing because what you will be doing when you get to the year 11 and 12 is you'll be dropping your weak subjects. So there's no point essentially focusing on those weaknesses to bring them up to par and then dropping them later. So yes, people generally don't know what they really want to choose further on, but it's always going to be your strengths. So I would say if you have subjects that you're good at, focus on being very good in those subjects rather than playing catch up with the other subjects. I was always good at maths and science, whereas my history, my art, they were never as good. And so while it looked weird occasionally to have, A's in maths and science and an E in art or a B in history, that actually served me well. If I'd focused so much on the art and history, I'd have lost ground on the math side of things. So what we don't want is even split of subjects, A. I mean, if you're already at that stage, then like don't change anything. What might be helpful is you have a couple of subjects that you're good at, and then it's okay to have lower subjects because you're going to just drop them anyway. So that might take some sort of convincing to your parents, like, what the heck is this bee doing here? But this all can be learned. Now that there are some important bits, but also you can be selective. For me, when I was in year 9 or 10, it wasn't that important to do well in art. I would rather just be very, very good at maths, because that's what I carried on. Now, as a caveat, sometimes there are weaknesses that you need to manage. Sometimes there are C's that you need to get up to that A level. One example for me was English. So while maths and sciences were my strong suit, my English was always slightly behind that. And that is a necessity because you have to do, in the VCE, you have to do English for your year 11 and 12. So that's a weakness that was necessary to manage, rather than one that I could ignore, like art, history, etc. So when you're managing your weaknesses, start from the ground up. What I wish I did in year 8 or year 9 was go to my English teacher or look online and say, what are the actual principles of a good essay? I wish I was never into reading then. I love it now, but I wish I, had found one good book that I really interested me and I couldn't put my hands down. And I guarantee you, for everyone, there'll be at least one book that will get you onto reading. It's not reading that you dislike, it's just reading the wrong material. So I wish I asked my teacher or learnt online what the principles of a good essay was. I started reading in some capacity relative to my interests. And now with the uh, development of the AIs, you can get free advice, free marking for every piece of content that you do. The caveat to that is people are getting the AI to do their writing for them. They're getting it to do their reading for them. And you're all getting shorter and shorter summaries. Why read a book when I can read a summary? Why read a summary when I can get it, in one line synthesized? So this is where things like, sometimes even handwriting can still be put on the AI, but it's important to, if you're actually focusing on these things, there's a big opportunity for everyone because while others are using AI, your writing skills, your speaking skills, your reading skills can all be managed now from year 8 to 9, learning the basic principles. What makes a good essay? What makes a good speech? How can I structure my ideas? What vocabulary is important? What's an appropriate use of these terms? And if you learn those principles now and you start implementing them slowly, then you'll be able to not only catch up, but then get ahead when we're playing the long game. So rule number one, don't aim for straight A's, focus on your strengths. But if there are important weaknesses, manage them by starting from the ground up, from the basic principles. Number two, pursue your interests. So this links nicely into the first subject because often the reason that you're good at certain topics is because you're interested in them. You find them enjoyable. So whatever you're interested in that moment, if you're interested in robotics and space travel, learn that. It might not necessarily relate to your school materials, but if you enjoy learning, just learning something you're interested in and enjoy doing will help your learning and study strategies overall. And if there is a school subject that you enjoy, let's say you love maths, don't be afraid to learn broader than the subject material. It's a trap that people fall into, I think, at any stage, because let's say you're tested on this sort of textbook material. And so you'll only ever learn this much. But if you want to, learn beyond that. Nowhere ever in school, would you have been taught like more than your 12 times tables. But there was some child in you that was interested in knowing, like, can I try my 13 times tables? Can I try my 14 times tables? And that's the kind of kid who then becomes quicker at multiplication. And because they're quicker at multiplication and other basic things, then they're better at maths down the end of the line. So don't be afraid, especially at the year 8 to 10 level. Learn whatever you like, whatever is interesting to you, and learn as much as possible because that interest might fade or that interest might remain. And regardless, knowing about a particular topic, knowing more will always be better for you. Don't worry about, just I need to just get this all done for exams because that will always constrain you into the box. And if you have extra knowledge, that's always going to be helpful down the line. And you'll be surprised, I actually think often learning broader than the subject material will help your exams in itself. So rule two, pursue your interests and learn broader than the subject material. Rule three, every mistake is a lesson and every lesson needs an action point. Classic example, I get a maths test back, I get 80%, right? So let's just say it's out of 100 marks. There's 20 mistakes in there. If I just read through and say, oh yeah, that was a dumb mistake. Oh, that makes sense. Sure. Oh yeah, that one, I would have got if I did it again. That one, maybe it was just an exam thing. When I do a similar question at home, I would have got that right. Okay, so maybe you think that you've like learnt those lessons, but there's no action points from that. So there's no learning that's gone on. And this is the danger trap. You learn only through action. If you don't make any practical changes, then that mistake is not learned. That mistake will happen again. So rather than saying, oh yeah, that was a silly mistake, you have to think, all right, why did I make that? And why did I make that? And then how can I catch it again? So, okay, I made this mistake because I was really trying to rush this question because I was, down on time. In the future, I will, practice under time conditions so I get a bit faster. Then I'm going to aim to finish, 15 minutes early every test. With those 15 minutes, I'm going to look specifically for this mistake. So, if you expanded your, brackets wrong and you made this classic mistake, I'm going to look specifically at every bracket I wrote down in the last minute of my exam, and I'm going to just make sure I didn't make this mistake. That is an action point because you're specifically looking for that mistake. And if you follow that, you'll never make it again, right? For those of you wondering, there should be a plus here. In any course, yes, people will make mistakes, and yes, you're going to learn and you're going to read through them. But what you should do is rather than just writing, these are the mistakes I made, you need to think, what are the specific action points? If every mistake, every piece of advice you get, you come up with an action point, you'll be amazing, amazing, with a few repetitions down. Come up with action points, not just writing the mistake. That is the key takeaway here. So this is the difference in mindset between that makes sense, no action point, versus I will do this, I will change this. Study on the holidays. This is the gonna be the one where people are like, what? No, this will ruin it. But I'm not saying to study lots on the holidays. I just need like 10 minutes a day on the holidays will be a game changer. Because think about if you had 2 weeks off, 10 minutes a day means two 5-minute lectures that you can give. So you can revise 28 topics on the holidays. And if you do that, you put in the reps, you will be far ahead. This utilizes the important power of compounding. So all the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. Here's what that means. Let's say you're learning throughout the term and you start off learning a bit slower and then you are rising in the rate of learning. Because once you get the basics, you can learn the additional things quite quickly. Then you have 2 weeks off, and most people will do a lot of forgetting. You know, interesting exercise on the first day of term. Ask people some quiz questions, what they remember from last term. So people do a bit of forgetting. over that 2 weeks. And then you need to basically start again from scratch, like so. Now, you're still going to learn more, but that holidays is an obvious blip. Now, if you take the same person, but instead of doing nothing over that 2 weeks, they do 10 minutes a day and they continue their rate of learning, then that will continue with exponential growth. And while the differences may be small here, the real benefits are seen here. And this is the classic, if you double a coin for 200 days, it's this small amount. But if you double it for 400 days, then it's way, way, way higher. And so if you do even a little bit of work on the holidays, it will reap its dividends. Lots of the people I know who are successful in high school with their 99.95 or in med always will do some little bit on the holidays. And just even if it's just the bit that interests you, even if it's 10 minutes a day, it'll make a big difference. And that will put you ahead of the curve as well. Okay, this was a personal lesson for me, which is probably more relevant to the year 11, 12 side of things, but I think it's important. So your close friends are your teammates and everyone else is your rival. Now, what I mean by this is I initially had the mindset that everyone was sort of in competition with everyone, right? There's only a certain number of 50s given out in specialist, right? It's based on a percent. It's a zero-sum game. So that means you're in competition with everyone, right? Even the people at the same school, you're in competition with them because, if there's only 10 50s in the state, 10 perfect scores, and they get five of them, that's five less that I could get. But that's not the right way of thinking about it because what you have is a often a core group of close friends. Now, this might be, three people, it might be 10 people. But it's in your best interests from year 8 to 10, basically to find a group of people who are similarly ambitious to yourself and make that group of people as smart as possible. So if you have friends that work hard, that are smart, that are intelligent, that have high hopes and dreams for the future, and you stay together and you make each other as smart as possible, that will continuously build up off each other as well. Looking back, even from my own friend group, three people got 99.95, and I wasn't one of them. So it was being around these people made me better, and it inspired all of us. How is it that so many people got into medicine from my cohort? Well, because we were all ambitious. We saw someone else, practicing UCAT, getting these high scores, and we thought, I should be doing that as well. And that wasn't a rivalry. We weren't putting each other's down. We were sharing resources, we were giving each other advice, we were teaching each other complex things, and that made us all collectively stronger. So what I would say is find your tight group, find a group of 5 to 10 people. Doesn't have to be 5 to 10, but find a small group of people who you're close with, who you trust, who are ambitious, who will benefit you, who everyone will benefit from having them around each other. It's the classic, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And your job is to make that group as smart as possible. Share resources, teach each other, collaborate with each other because you are friends. And then people from other schools, etc., they can be your rivals, but not your close friends. Find at least one thing to be very good at. This is relevant for me when I think about one of the main benefits for doing lots of work in med school and for like getting these sort of academic awards. It's something that I am good at, and that like makes it very fun and it gives me a lot of confidence as well. Now, if you find that thing that you're good at, you can then it will give you a lot of purpose, it will give you a lot of confidence and ambition. So for some people, like myself, that's academics. For some people, they're very good at sports, or they're very good at music, or they are very good at a particular hobby like climbing. But if you have that something that you're very good at, then that's will give you lots of confidence in other areas as well. And it will often that you'll have that sense of enjoyment once you're good at it. It's fun being good at things. I think lots of the reasons why we dislike certain things is just because we're not that good at them. I would probably love art if I could, sketch the things that I can visualize, but I can't. But I like maths because I'm good at it. I'm fast, I get things right, and it feels nice. Now, if there's nothing at the minute that you are very good at, and I just don't mean good, like one of the best in your class, try and find something, and you can easily make it studies. And so, by implementing some of the tips in this video, remember you need an action point to learn it. Then I'm hoping that if you decide that study is the thing you want to be very good at, you'll shoot for the moon and you'll do very well. Inspiration, energy, and fun come and go. So I mean, I could say like, every time before you study physics, go watch a inspirational video on like how big the Earth is and how the universe is and how small we are. But then also like you can go down to the single cells and how big we are, how amazing life is. But like to be honest, that might work for the first week, but it's going to come and go. You might be super inspired, uh, but then things fade. Now, when you are inspired, full of energy, when you are enjoying things, learn as much as possible. But the important things for long-term learning are discipline and purpose. So, discipline, can I get my 10 minutes done every day, even though it's the holidays? Uh, and at least 10 minutes done, and you never miss, more than one day. So missing one day is okay. Sometimes that happens, but try not to miss 2 days in a row. And then purpose, like why? Why are you actually studying? Why do you want to do well? For me, I realized that any learning I do in med school will be less learning I need to do as a doctor when I'm working full time. And the more I learn now, the further I can get ahead, and that will help me getting onto a training program. The faster I can get to a training program, the better my life will be down the line. I will have more time with my family in the future. So when I think about all the studying I'm doing now, I'm thinking I'm saving myself years later. I'm saving myself years of working 80-hour weeks, and I'm earning time with my family later on. Now that's my why. You'll have a different why. Why do you want to do well? To get into the course of your dreams. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's you generally, enjoy the subject matter, whatever it is. If you have a reason to study, you will do better. You will find more enjoyment than the person who just says like, all right, I need to study because my test is coming up. Or I need to study, because there's exams at the end of the year. It's my first set of exams. Find that, and there'll always be reasons, but you have a reason to study, then you will manage the rest from there. And that will help when the inspiration is gone, the energy is gone, the fun is gone. When you don't feel like it, you've got a headache, you're a bit sick, but you still can manage, 10 minutes of study. If you get that done every day, that's leveraging the power of compounding as well. All right, this is a bit of a specific one, but this is a really fun topic for me. Don't read textbooks front to back. In year 11, before year 12, I basically took my chemistry book for year 12 and I read it front to back. I read the whole thing. By the start of chemistry, I remembered nothing. It was completely a complete waste of time. I don't even think it was beneficial. So in year 8 to 10, this is where you're learning how to study and what methods work for you. This is not the time where you're trying to like just get the highest marks possible. Learning how to study is better. So what I would do is every single test or exam, like they don't matter in any sense. I have no idea what marks I got in year 8, and they had no consequences for me. If you're going for selective school, that's different. But your end of year exams, you'll forget them in like a year's time. Like once you pass, it's fine. So I would change my study time for every test. Maybe one test I'll do like lots of reading, another test maybe do flashcards, another test practice questions, another test videos, another test drawings, mental maps, etc. But often incorporate all these things. But change the way you approach every test. If you change your study style, you'll eventually find one that actually worked really nicely. I learned lots there and it stuck in less time. And rather than just reading from front to back, which is not a good way to learn, often the way to interact with textbooks, if you are interacting with them, which you often don't have to do, is to, maybe start at the chapter review. You do a couple of questions, the things that you don't understand, then you just read those specific topics. Then that will help because you've got the retention of a question. Alternatively, maybe you look at the subheadings, you watch one YouTube video on a subheading, maybe a 5-minute video, then you give a 5-minute lecture to your teddy bear, and then you read through just that topic and you say, all right, what did I miss from that? What seems important? So rather than just reading big chunks of text, try and integrate lots of different approaches. Can you integrate, practice questions with reading, teaching with reading, flashcards with reading? And the more you can integrate, the more likely things will stick long term. Speed is underrated. So doing things fast, no one really stresses that in school. But the faster you can think, write, calculate, there's no downsides to that. Being slow is almost never helpful. So your teachers are very good at teaching the content. But for example, in maths, I didn't think they adequately taught, how to check, how to find mistakes, how to make action points from mistakes, if there's many different ways to find the solution, how to find the fastest possible way. And so try and work on speed with your own in your own time. It's something you can put yourself under time conditions, or for select things, do them fast. And if you're trying to take care of your speed and other things that the teachers are not necessarily going to cover, that is something that will get you ahead because the teacher will always got their speed. Uh, Remember, they've got to cater to an audience of everywhere from students who are struggling to students who think this is way too easy. So if you can find your own speed and push it up, maybe that's increasing your reading speed, increasing your calculation speed, doing some times tables, whatever it is, the faster you can do things, generally, the better you are. This is a bit of a long quote, but I think this is a really important one, and this is the last one as well. Second last one. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. So, what this means is people are thinking, I'm stressed in exams. You know, even in med school, there are people who are very, very stressed in the exam setting. Their voice gets shrill, they cave up, their heart beats really fast, and their performance is markedly reduced. This is the time to manage that anxiety and pressure. The best way of managing the anxiety and pressure is to give yourself proof that you have been in a similar situation before and done really well. So, your year 8, year 9, year 10 exams, I told you, are not about the marks. They're about saying, I was under exam I was under exam stress, but I still delivered under pressure. I learned how to put things in my long-term memory and avoided relying on cramming. To be perfectly honest, you can pass year 8, year 9, and year 10 just by studying the last night before the test. Lots of people can. But that's not the point. If you learn long term and you reduce your ability to, depend on the cramming, that will serve you way better. And the exams are one such underrated thing is to teach you how to manage the stress. Because if you'll be stressed, year 8 exams, even though they're not worth that much, there is pressure. But if you then say, I felt this pressure and I still did well, then the next time you sit it in year 9, that stress you'll be able to manage that. You've given yourself undeniable proof. I did this before, I can do it again. And if you can find any sort of enjoyment or excitement at the fact that this is the rush, this is the test, this is where you feel alive. You're alert, and you're under this test environment. Are you excited or nervous? Because they sometimes present very similarly. But the main point here is give yourself like the ability to deal with pressure starts by just having small wins early on and then building a stack of undeniable proof that you can do it. You can manage the exam stress. All right, finally, just the practical one, make a planner. This is like year 8 to 10 is around the time that I started, you have your list of like tasks that you want to get done. But the most important thing not only is making the planner, like or a task list, but get the most important thing done each day. It doesn't matter like what you do, but if you're starting 10 minutes in a day, what is the most important thing I need to do today? If you knock that out and you do that every day, you will be flying. So 11 tips. Remember, lessons are not learnt unless they are made into actionable advice. So, feel free just to click through the slides here and ask as many questions as you can, as you want to in the chat. Not the chat, the comment section. But I'm hoping that there was at least, one or two things here that really grabbed at you. Start with those things, and you can always come back later. You don't need to implement 11 things at once. That's too much. Start with one thing or two things, pick an action thing, and then do it. The best thing you could do if you found this video helpful is to share it with your 5 to 10 people that you are most close with. Because if you all get them watching the same video, learning together, inspired together, that will build yourself up. So it would help me, but it'll also help you and your friends. But share this video with your small group, your allies, and that will hopefully elevate all of your study game to the next level. Please let me know if this was helpful, and stay tuned. There'll be many more study videos coming across my channel. Thanks very much, guys.